To Granger.
Oh, he got it off. Oh!
Tipped
Yes! Yes, man, Dunleavy got it.
When Jerome broke the backboard, it literally sounded like someone throwing a brick through a huge glass window.
From rules about looks to how the game flow is maintained and more. Join me as I show you 10 NBA rules you didn't know existed.
Do you want to win any of these items on your screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right into the video.
Number 10, no branding outside of approved sources. Let's start this list with a talk about money, shall we? When it comes to leagues like the NBA, getting revenue to the league and to players is paramount. The NBA used to be very bad in getting ticket sales, revenue from sponsors, and more. It was only in the 80s that things turned around. And now, the NBA is sponsored by various companies and brands. And to that end, the players themselves are allowed to wear items from certain brands like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, and more to help show support for them. But when it comes to non-league approved or sanctioned brands, you're out of luck. It is an NBA rule that you must cover up all logos that do not coincide with the branding rules of the NBA. A great example of this is with Lonzo Ball. The son of Lamar Ball is a part of the Big Baller brand and has a tattoo of the brand's logo on his arm. Because of the NBA rule against this, he has to wear tape over his logo in every single game that he is in, else pay a fine. Many other players have had this happen to them, including some who were just paying tributes to characters they like, such as when Dwayne Wade had the Flash logo drawn onto his gear and the NBA fired back against that. I guess if it can't make them money, they don't want it shown on TV.
It's like a furnace coming on my damn neck over here. Okay.
Number 9, you can't break the backboard. There are certain things in sports that you will take for granted, including how safe certain objects are. You don't expect a bat to break in baseball, so when it does, it's shocking. And likewise, in the NBA, you don't expect the backboard to break after a person goes for a slam, or for the whole hoop to collapse because someone dunked on it too hard. Yet it has happened, and because of it, the NBA now has rules to deter against it. Should it happen now, the basket won't count and the player will be given a technical foul for unsportsmanlike conduct. A fine may also be issued. The last time this was a problem was in 1993, on 2 separate occasions. The first being Shaquille O'Neal having the entire hoop be damaged after a slam, as well as Chris Morris cracking the backboard during the same year against the Chicago Bulls. The amount of times this rule has been enforced has gone down drastically with the invention of breakaway rims, and has not been an issue in quite some time. But you can understand why this is a rule, especially in the Shaq Slam, glass was broken and the hoop coming down could have caused serious pain to a person. Thankfully it didn't, but it could have, and you can see why the NBA would have such a rule to make sure people dunk safely.
When Jerome broke the backboard, it literally sounded like someone throwing a brick through a huge glass window.
Number 8, standing for the anthem. This did not start out as an NBA issue. It was first a very public NFL issue because of former quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who decided to kneel during the national anthem segment of the NFL's pregame in protest of violent attacks on African Americans by the police of the US. It would later get misconstrued and blasted as being un-American, and serious questions about the right to protest and when to protest were brought up. In the NBA, though, Commissioner Adam Silver put a kibosh on this almost instantly. How did he do that? Simple. Adam Silver reminded players of a league rule that players must be standing during the national anthem. It's been a rule as long as I've been involved with the league, and my expectation is that our players will continue to stand for the anthem, he said. Sure enough, because of this rule, and not one in the NFL for the record, every player has stood for the national anthem. Though some former players like the late Kobe Bryant did say if he was in the league, he would protest. And there's really no clear punishment for what would happen if someone didn't stand for the anthem. But in all honesty, it's just best if you don't find out.
I think it's important to stick up for what you believe in. I stand with Cap. I kneel with Cap. I feel what he was talking about, nobody wanted to listen to. Nobody ever really wanted to actually understand where he was coming from.
Number 7, 6 players on the court is okay? This particular instance has been fixed, but it was a curious case of taking advantage of the rules and making points count despite the fact that it shouldn't. So let me ask you a question. What's the best way to score out of a timeout? Well, Nate McMillan believed it was to have 6 players out on the court. In a game between the Blazers and Celtics in 2008, this was the exact case. On this play, Portland had the extra advantage and easily gets the quick bucket. A technical foul was called, but the referees could not do anything about the points on the possession in question. The rules stated that the points could not be taken off the board, but after this instance, the rule was quickly changed over the following summer. After the play, Kevin Garnett can be seen vividly arguing the call, but it was no use. Again, the rule was changed, but the fact that it took this very odd circumstance to make it happen? Yeah, odd. Number 6, the numbers you wear. Not surprisingly, there are a few rules in regards to the numbers that NBA players can wear, and some of them are understandable. You can't have a number 100 or over, for example, and obviously if a player's number is retired in honor of a legend or a fallen brother of the court, then you can't take it. But there is one odd stipulation with the number 0 that most people don't know. Mainly, you can wear 0, and you can even wear 00. But if you and your teammate want to have 0 and 00 as your jersey numbers, you're out of luck. You can only have one of the two on the team, but not both. Apparently, this is because they don't want scorekeepers or refs to get confused by the 0 and 00 similarities, and thus call bad things on the wrong players or award the wrong player a certain amount of points. It's odd, but it does make sense. Number 5, who gets what basket? The jump ball is the obvious start to the basketball game, but there is something vital that happens before the opening tip. The teams need to figure out which basket they will be starting at, and it is the visiting team's decision that sets the tone for the rest of the game. This normally occurs before any television coverage of the game during a pregame shootout round. This seems unimportant, but there is a small amount of strategy that comes into play with this choice. Would coaches rather have their players go towards their bench so players can hear them clearly at the start of the game and set the tone, or rather opt to have the players be near them for late game instructions? It seems like most coaches choose to have the players go towards the opposing bench at the start of the game, in order to relay information easier during crunch time. But the fact that the road team always gets this choice is kind of interesting, as in the NFL, you coin flip for position no matter where you are.
On hand tonight, Embiid and Davis on the opening tip, and it's handled by LeBron.
Number 4, 10 seconds. Timing violations are a big part of the NBA, as they're trying to make sure that the games don't drag out forever, and that certain teams don't abuse their power to turn the game in their favor. However, one of the least talked about odd rules that is in the NBA is the 10 seconds count at the free throw line. That's right, there was actually a time limit that was put in place to make sure that players didn't just take their sweet time when they get the penalty shot. They have 10 seconds from when the ref signals, which is plenty of time to center yourself and get the shot off. If you're curious, it was NBA legend Karl Malone that helped make this rule happen, as he was infamous for not just taking his time with free throws, but taking a lot of time to get them off. MVP candidate Giannis Antetokounmpo was the last player to be called for this violation in 2016, and has since shortened his routine after a phone call from the NBA.
Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Number 3, no punching. The ball. A very obvious rule in the NBA is not punching another player, or going after fans in the infamous Malice in the Palace via Ron Artest. But a lesser-known rule that might have you scratching your head is that players also can't punch the ball. Not to get it out of the way, not to get it out of an opposing player's hands, nothing. You can poke it away, slap it away, palm strike it away, but you can't punch it. Why? Apparently, a ball acts unpredictably when it's punched, and thus they don't want to incite more violence or risk fan safety by having this happen. Number 2, resting players. A big controversy in the NBA in recent seasons was over coaches resting players in order to save them for the playoffs, as the regular season only matters in certain areas such as playoff placement and home court advantage. This ticks off fans because they could pay good money to see a game, and yet the star players are benched. The irony is that the NBA already has rules in place to rest players during the season. By NBA rule, players must have 18 days of rest completely free of practices and games. That way, their bodies can heal and coaches can't overwork them. Clearly, the coaches aren't doing that as they're over-resting them in the eyes of their fans. Number 1, bounce and buzzer. There is no known instance of this happening in NBA history, but it is possible according to the rulebook. If a player throws up a prayer from full court with the time winding down and the ball happens to bounce off the ground into the basket, should it count? If the buzzer goes off before the ball hits the ground, that is considered a dead ball, and the shot attempted ended the moment the ball landed. If the ball bounces on the ground before the buzzer, however, it counts, and the player should be praised as a hero and a lucky son of a gun. So, what do you think? What do you think of these rather odd rules that the NBA has for its players? Which of these rules did you know about beforehand? Which of them do you think is the oddest of the bunch? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.
A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.